This video will be a continuation in our series on the lymphatic system, and in this video we will be looking at our lymphatic cells and all of the different types of cells that are associated with the lymphatic system. Our first type of cell is going to be a natural killer cell. This is often abbreviated as NK cells, and they're called natural killer cells because they have these receptors that are going to go along and they read the proteins present on the surface of every cell they come in contact with. If this is a healthy, normal cell that belongs to your body, the NK cell will recognize that MHC1 and simply ignore that healthy cell. However, if our plasma proteins are foreign and they come from a virus or the NK cell reads a bacterium, these foreign antigens are going to say non-self. And it recognizes that that protein in the plasma membrane of the cell does not belong in the body. And so the NK cell then will destroy that cell by causing apoptosis typically. And so our NK cells are going to read the cell membrane of every cell they come in contact with. And if they do not recognize those membrane proteins, then the NK cell will completely destroy the foreign or non-self cell. This goes for healthy cells that are infected by viruses. You begin to display viral proteins in your plasma membrane, and it's those viral proteins that are recognized as non-self. Our next type of cell is a T cell, sometimes called a T lymphocyte. These actually come in 4 different varieties, and what we're looking at here is a cytotoxic T cell. So let's highlight that. We're actually looking at a cytotoxic T cell in this picture. So a cytotoxic T cell is going to have similar function to an NK cell, except they are looking for a very specific foreign antigen. So they are targeting only one type of foreign antigen at a time. So this cell right here may be infected with chickenpox. So this cytotoxic T cell is targeting chickenpox. And if the cytotoxic T cell, instead of reading chickenpox, reads flu, that cytotoxic T cell is not actually going to have a response. It only responds to chickenpox. So that's why we call it specific immunity. Our T cells are targeting specific antigens and not any non-self antigen like our NK cells. Next up we have B cells, which are sometimes called B lymphocytes, or you may see plasma cells, but we're actually all talking about the same thing. These are lymphocytes that mature in our bone marrow, and when they are activated, they differentiate into a plasma cell, which then produces tons and tons of antibodies. Now, our B cells are also part of specific immunity. So these antibodies are going to be targeted to only one type of antigen, say the chickenpox. So our B cells are very important in what we call humoral immunity, and they don't actually attack anything themselves, but they produce these antibodies which are going to flag our foreign antigen for destruction by our T cells, natural killer cells, or macrophages. So we mentioned macrophages in the previous slide, and they come in lots of different varieties. But basically, a macrophage is an activated monocyte. So we're coming from monocytes, and these macrophages are incredibly phagocytic, and they are found in all of our different types of connective tissues. In our connective tissues, they are going to phagocytize debris, dead neutrophils, bacteria, and all sorts of other foreign matter. But then they take that foreign matter and they process it, and then they represent that foreign antigen to a T cell. And that T cell is then going to activate other T cells, and it will activate B cells. So in this capacity, we call them antigen presenting cells, or APCs. And this is very important to specific immunity. So our macrophages are going to be very important to non-specific immunity in their phagocytic role, and they're very important to specific immunity in their antigen presentation role. Lastly, we have our dendritic cells. Dendritic cells kind of fall under the auspices of a macrophage because they're branched mobile antigen presenting cells found all over your body, such as your dermis, your mucous membranes, and in your lymphatic organs. So these dendritic cells can include Langerhans cells in our dermis. They could be Kupffer cells in our liver, microglia in our central nervous system, alveolar macrophages in our lungs, or reticular cells that are stationary APCs in our lymphatic organs. So they have the same function that we saw in macrophages. They're going to phagocytize cellular debris, foreign pathogens, etc. And they also act as antigen presenting cells in various places in our body. If you have any questions regarding cells in our lymphatic system, please do not hesitate to contact your instructor.